Alright, so I just finished rewiring everything, and so these are the two 15-inch Kicker CompCs. These are single voice coil 4 ohm subwoofers. They're wired in parallel. So what that means is basically piggybacking off of one's positive to the positive of the other speaker, and the same goes for the negative. Okay, and what that does is when you wire those together in parallel, you come to the amplifier. Let's see this track here. Where we at? Yeah, it's gonna be hard to see. I can't even tell what I'm looking at really. I'm way lower. Anyway, I can't really get a good picture of it, but there you go. Okay. So those channels there are two channels. What I've done is take the positive of one channel and then connect the negative of that channel to the negative of the opposite channel. And that's bridging them two together, which will take that to 2 ohms at the amplifier, which is stable. I've got it about 3/4 of the way, probably pushing out about 800 watts. And what that does is when it gets to the speakers and they're wired in parallel, it splits that 800 watts across the two and gets 400 each. Those two Kicker CompCs can handle, I didn't even know what the RMS was, but it's much more than 400. But for longevity of the speakers, and because I like a nice, well-balanced stereo, not so much bass it rattles the block, but the clarity of the other parts of your stereo are, you know, subpar. I would rather just have a nice balanced stereo with a good low end. Anyway, oh, and one more thing I forgot too. You know, one important thing is making sure that you're, you know, matching the subwoofers that you have, what they're capable of, you know, 2 ohm, 4 ohm, whatever, how you're wiring them up as far as how that affects the ohms at the speakers, and then how you connect those to the amplifier and what configuration will affect what ohm rating or what ohm load you have at your amplifier, which ohms are the measurement of resistance. And then what the main problem is, though, and this is my own laziness, but when you have a problem with your electric system or your electrical system or stereo or anything for that matter, a lot of times it's the ground. I had a ground right here under the kick plate. It was insufficient. I probably should have just accepted that when I did it, but I was being lazy. Anyway, I undid that, and instead I came right there to that big bolt there, which is connected to some kind of frame for the seat, which in turn is connected to the frame of the vehicle, which is a nice big solid ground. I mean, look at the size of that bolt and the nut. Basically, once I did that, a lot of the problems were gone. Actually, all the problems were gone. Let me sit that back down. And then I'll show you one other thing. If you're going to be installing a big stereo, this is another thing that is very important. It's called a Big 3. Well, I haven't upgraded the alternator, but what you do is right there off the ground bolt, and my cousin Chris, he's the one that, you know, told me this or showed me this. Anyway, that goes up there to the same ground where the ground strap goes down to the engine block. I've got an additional ground coming off of that going to that same ground. Okay, you can't really see it, but off the back side of the alternator here, there's a blue wire off the positive. That goes over here, travels up and around, ends up on the positive terminal of the battery. It's an additional pathway for the alternator to recharge a battery. And then I have another additional ground, it's hard to see it, but off the negative terminal of the battery, and it goes down and connects. Actually, I've got to reconnect that, I forgot. But it should have been connected right there. But that is the ground to provide another ground for your battery. Just basically bigger pipes for the water to flow through. Anyway, that's kind of a little thing what I did there. Check it out.